guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is October 29th, 2017. Welcome to our European and UK segment that we do every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm hoping that we're not going to miss or be too early for those of you in the UK that fell back last night at 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh, so like if we're running late, like over and over and over again, will we eventually...
No, because we're going to catch up next week.
I know, it's just a joke.
Okay, so next Sunday we'll be back here at 6 your time, but today
Sorry
we're
that
here
you
at
have
5.
to keep following our time, but I felt like it would be easier for you.
For us just to stay at
Since it's the whole world news today.
Exactly.
So
before we start off, just so that I can make someone extremely angry at me, join me in wishing Horatio, our favorite...
Happy birthday, Horatio!
His birthday was yesterday, our favorite UK and Yorkshire
29.
correspondent. No, he's 29. Yes, 29 years young. So happy birthday to Horatio. Thank you for being such a lovely addition to the Resistance Chicks channel and a good friend. All right, so what do we want to go to first today?
So I thought I would take you to Julian Assange's Facebook, Twitter page, because he is kind of our only good reporting on the Catalonian independence right now.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that he is fair and balanced.
Because it's such a tricky thing, though.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like there's no right, there's no wrong. Well, there's lots of wrong going on, but you know what I mean? It's very difficult.
Right. I'm not going to play this whole thing. I'm not actually going to play it, but he tweeted this out. 40 years on, Franco's ghost still haunts Spain. If you want to understand why Catalonia wants to leave Spain, you just kind of look to, the United States politics. You look to any politics to where there's an immense amount of corruption and then, multiply it.
Right.
And so... he tweets out, Trump on the right to self-determination. He said he hashtags Catalonia, and Trump says self-determination is the sacred right of all free peoples, and the people of the UK have exercised that right for all the world to see, which I find incredibly interesting that he's tweeting out a tweet on Brexit in favor of Catalonia.
Right.
And so I appreciate WikiLeaks, and I appreciate Julian Assange because despite their own obviously people have their own thoughts on things. They have their own moral compass. But their basic moral compass is transparency.
At WikiLeaks.
And Julian Assange. And so when it comes to Spain's Prime Minister, President, sorry, get them all mixed up, Rajoy, he is obviously kind of corrupt and acting more like a dictator, and Catalonia is actually happy. They voted for their independence. They have fireworks, and they think they are taking this first step. But I wanted to show you this. I thought this was hilarious. This is a nice little Halloween that I can appreciate. Have you seen this? You have
that's
Hunchback
fantastic.
Merkel.
Oh my gosh.
And Juncker over there with Frankenstein.
That is so
it's
great.
Alive with the hand over here falling off of the Spain, and Brexit
fantastic.
already falling off the arm over there.
I love it.
And I feel like that is
cookie.
I think that sometimes they say that pictures say 1,000 words. I think this is one that says a lot. That, Brexit was I would put probably the right arm of Frankenstein, but they chopped off the left arm for some reason. And the hand is going off. I don't know if I would make Catalonia more of an ear. I don't know. But anyways, is this the future of the EU? And I hope so. I don't think that Hungary and Poland, I know that they actually don't want to leave the European Union. They want a greater voice. They don't want to be told what to do. And that was the title we wanted to put in today. I think the main voice of any sort of sanity right now is coming from Poland and Hungary, with people who still have, I would say, strong moral values and a culture that is moral within themselves.
So
Go ahead.
I want to get to this coming from, this is the Washington Post. So, of course, take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
However, it says the latest. Catalan leader can run in vote if not in jail. Barcelona, Spain. The latest on the Spain-Catalonia political crisis says Spain's foreign prime minister says Catalonia's deposed leader would be eligible to run in the regional election called by the central government on December 21st, provided he hasn't been imprisoned by then. Foreign Minister Alfonso Dati told the Associated Press in an interview in Madrid that Carles Puigdemont, pro-independence party could theoretically put him up as a candidate if he is not put in jail at that time. Puigdemont could face criminal charges for his role in the separatist movement that culminated in the Catalan parliament declaring an independent republic on Friday. So I thought that was really interesting.
This is the front page of the Scottish newspaper, The National. And Finland is actually about to maybe put forth a vote to recognize Catalonia, which I find interesting. So there's a lot going on over there.
But the fact that he could be, like, they're like, well, he could run if we don't have him in jail because we're putting him in jail for helping start this whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, about that.
So, I don't know. There's a lot going on. I mean, and that is on the Washington Post. This is something that everybody is talking about. So, and it's such a small, country. You would think that we would just let countries do their thing and not really pay that much attention. But I believe that there is something much larger at play here.
Oh, absolutely. There definitely is something.
The Catalan people wanting to, gain independence.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, they had fireworks and a big display and people crying. I believe I have that up over here in my other links over here. Sorry. Let's see. I try to get them all up to where I can just go straight to them, but not always the case. So, you know what? We'll probably end up on that link at some point. So I want to go to all of our news out of the UK. There's a lot of little very interesting stories, a lot that are kind of disconcerting for people of a Christian faith, but this one again strikes me again that the judges all over the world, when it comes to pedophiles and when it comes to
they're getting
rapists,
slaps on the wrist at best.
When we saw an open secret, even here in America, a guy who literally was caught on tape admitting to molesting a young boy was given like 6 months in prison. Ridiculous. It's absolutely insane.
You should be given like life for that.
So here is a new excuse for you. If you are caught with child porn in the UK, you will get your sentence cut if you tell the judge that you were having a transgender crisis and you were looking at pictures of naked young girls because you thought you might be one on the inside. I'm not even kidding you.
That's not real.
Judges have cut a man's sentence after he claimed a gender identity crisis led him to download and store more than 1,400 indecent images of small children. The Leicester Crown Court sentenced Sarbjit Jagdev, that name doesn't sound very British, to 3 years in prison in May after he admitted 7 counts of possessing child sex abuse pictures. But judges reduced the sentence to 2 years. Now, it was 3 years, by the way. They felt like that was too much. Too much. 3 years is much too much for you to be in prison, sir, ma'am, whichever you choose to be today. We think we'll bring it down to 2 years. London's Criminal Appeal Court, they heard the 23-year-old stockpiled images and videos of the sexual abuse of young girls because he was confused about his sexuality. Now, one wouldn't think that one would watch the sexual abuse of young girls if you were considering that you might be one, because that would be actually horrific to you, right? to watch someone of your gender being so maligned and hurt. Jagdev said the compulsion to look at indecent images of children arose because of feeling unable to confront his belief that he could be transgender as a result of having a, quote, strict upbringing.
Wow.
Lawyers defending the Leicester resident told the court for some years he had been troubled by a crisis of gender identity which he had been unable to confront. Sometimes it might be better that you do not confront such things, maybe in that manner, possibly. Hearing that Jagdev sought counseling and therapy for confusion regarding gender sexuality following his arrest last year, Mr. Justice Spencer allowed the appeal.
Wow.
He said there was a high volume of images and they include moving images. The fundamental question is whether the judge took a starting point which was manifestly excessive having regard to the mitigation. He had expressed and demonstrated remorse and started to address his offending behavior. In the circumstances, the proper sentence here was 2 years, concluded the judge. Last month, Labour MP David Lammy called for more lenient treatment of black and minority ethnic suspects after accusing Britain's criminal justice system of bias in a report which was slammed by critics. So, is this person of ethnic background? We do not know.
Of course, they're not going to reveal that.
Civitas chief David Green debunked the former minister's claim that overt discrimination is to blame. Disparities in imprisonment rates between ethnic groups in a piece in the Spectre. Lammy's selective use of statistics suggests that he was determined to find discrimination, whether it was there or not. So, if you're caught with child porn, all you need to do is plead transgenderism and you will be safe and you will... It's just great.
Gosh.
Now,
hang on.
Oh, go ahead.
While you're still kind of on that subject, and hopefully don't have a video that plays in the background, guys, on this. But Justin Hughes sent this to me. He's not here yet, but he will be worth a look.
Did you bring it up for them? Can they see this?
No. Shoot, there goes the video.
I need to bring it up so they can see it?
You can. Yes, I can probably forward it to you.
I can
just read it. It's just I just wanted to get the title out there. NHS pressured our kids to change sex. Transgender backlash as desperate parents accuse overzealous therapists of blindly accepting children's claims to have been born in the wrong body. Children as young as 13 are being railroaded into changing gender by overzealous NHS. Now this is the health service in the UK for our American viewers. Therapists who parents fear are misdiagnosing their young patients. Concerned parents have spoken of their worry that clinic staff are blindly accepting children's claims that they were born the wrong sex and are failing to treat serious mental health conditions. A campaign group, Transgender Trend, is now receiving pleas for help from desperate parents every week. One mother was stunned when a 15-year-old girl was refused to a specialist transgender clinic after a consultation of just 40 minutes. The outcry comes as doctors fear being sued after the NHS signed a memorandum of understanding banning staff from challenging patients who believe they are born the wrong sex. Two, teenage YouTube stars who enthuse about changing sex.
This is insane. I need to interject here as Michelle's reading this off to you. There are a myriad amount of YouTube stars who are becoming famous promoting these hormones. It's a drug addiction. It's like promoting just taking opiates or heroin or anything.
Right. So it says, then number 3, because Leah just finished that one off. Children being referred to transgender treatment on the NHS has surged to record numbers. There are now 50 a week. While children are coming forward in ever-increasing numbers to say that they believe that they were born in the wrong sex, there are fears that therapists are ignoring the possibility of other conditions. So I'm not going to read the whole article there. I will link to this in the description if you want to read further. But the point is, this is a massive, scary number of children.
And it's way different.
Why is this happening?
There's even more in the UK than... Europe has always been a little bit more, you could say, promiscuous. I don't know.
Lewd.
Loose. And so while America has obesity rates, Europe has child pedophilia and high rates in affairs and things like that.
Right. Did you bring up the article? Okay.
I did.
Oh, I don't know if your video might accidentally play there. But yeah, so that's a girl that's really excited now.
That she is growing
right.
facial hair now. You know, I have to pluck some facial hair, and that would horrify me.
You can't tell that on air. If I woke up to that, I would burn my face. Just kidding. I'm just saying. This is mental insanity, and the fact that what they're saying is that the therapists aren't even allowed to look at the fact that it could be. Now, Leah and I, listen, you know how we
talk about this all the time.
But it could be, at the very least, I'll go 50-50. Right?
Well, no, at the very least, 50% of these cases, like you're saying, would be the whether you're the mind in the wrong body, maybe, or
that's what I'm saying.
Body in the wrong mind. Change the mind before you change the body.
Right.
If why just go straight to changing the body? Why not just find something that can change the mind?
Bingo.
And that actually goes along with the. I have a Australian article here. I did have an Australian article here, maybe up here, where, of course, it's not. I'm not going to find it. Anyways, my Australian article that I thought I had up.
Going to Australia, mate.
Was, I guess I don't have it up. I'll just tell it to you. There was a father who was upset that his 15-year-old daughter, he was going to go through a gender assignment, and there's a big push in Australia for fathers' rights, and this was I think one of those under the fathers' rights movement where you would think at least you'd have to have both parents sign on to something like that.
Right.
You can't just allow. Again, I mean, looking at the picture of that girl that you brought up, how you know just cutting somebody's chest off and giving them some hormones from her to go from a girl to a guy. I mean, it goes to show you that testosterone is a thing.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean?
Sorry. I love that you said that with a straight face.
No, it really is a thing, and that it's in your body for a reason, or your body lacks it for a reason.
Right.
And
the
same thing with estrogen,
progesterone.
Yeah.
All hormones in general have a specific purpose, and it is very, very important. You don't have to keep that picture up.
Dude looks like Harry Potter.
That it maintains the proper balance. Even girls have an amount of testosterone in them. It's part of the balance.
Right.
But when you have we have estrogen in the water because of birth control, too much soy people are consuming, and then guys start to literally grow breasts, and they start having female tendencies. They kind of sound a little bit more female. They have smaller bones.
If you're a guy, I encourage you to stay away from soy.
No more soy.
Soy products.
None of our viewers are allowed to have anything that has soy in it. Our male viewers.
It does tend.
And as females, we have too much soy in our diet, and then our estrogen gets too high in this hormone. Right. So that's a little health bit for you guys. You may not realize that your hormones, they affect your weight, they affect your overall general health.
Right.
Whether you're tired, whether you're sleepy, whether you feel, it does a lot of different things. So.
All right. So while we're still in the UK, everyone's second favorite conservative, besides Nigel, is Jacob Rees-Mogg, and he was on the BBC, and he made some remarks, and I'm sorry that I don't know the name of the interviewer. You guys probably do. Anyways, he really hit Jacob because Jacob goes on to say, listen, the whole BBC coverage right now on Brexit is very biased. And it was because he said, in spite of Brexit, this is going well. In spite of Brexit, he said, these are news reports that you hear every day. And the guy was like, well, which ones do you hear? Which ones do you hear? And name one specifically, but I'm going to actually bring up the tweet to where I was really glad to read the tweet because your fellow Brits took just 10 seconds and found several where proving what
Will
he said.
says that the BPA is the bane of men, mostly found in plastics, and over-sexualizes females in younger strata. So I forgot to nobody should be drinking out of plastic either. Metal, glass, ceramics.
And try not to microwave in plastic because it's more.
Try not to microwave at all.
Or if you do, in glass, but don't not metal. Don't put metal in the microwave.
It said there would be between 500,000 and 800,000 jobs lost purely on a vote to leave, not actually anything happening.
Oh, Jacob.
Dear old auntie. The BBC, how many times have we heard in spite of Brexit? In spite of Brexit, a record 3 million jobs have been created since 2010. In spite of Brexit, unemployment is its lowest level since 1975. In spite of Brexit, England defeated the West Indies at Lord's. I mean, it is again and again.
Can you actually specify an occasion when you've heard that? You say that, but have you actually? Have you got a quotation?
I've got some other quotations.
Have you got a quotation saying in spite of Brexit?
Well, you just have to listen to the news.
Well, that's a generalisation. Have you got a
I think anyone who's listened to the news recently has heard the in spite of Brexit terminology, and I think the audience knows that. Well, yes, the audience seems to agree. But the Sun...
No, they're shaking their heads there.
You found one. The Sun...
He's so awesome.
The Sun carried out a survey of the Andrew Marr Show. Debates all that. Yeah, but this is quite important because the Andrew Marr Show has had 84% of its people on being anti-Brexit. 129 interviewees against 33 in favour. That the balance of the BBC has been against. And actually, I disagree with one bit that Alex Salmond said. I think during the referendum campaign, the BBC behaved very well and tried extremely hard to be independent. It got such a shock when we voted to leave that since then I think it has behaved very badly. And I think that the situation we're in terms of the negotiations is exactly what you would expect. We have the 2-year time limit. If we hadn't exercised Article 50, the vote would simply not have been implemented. The government had to exercise Article 50, and it's now getting on with it. And of course...
Getting on with it. We hear that over and over again. So I actually have that, I believe I have that tweet up. Where's my tweet up? Here he is. Okay, so I'm going to read some of these replies. It says... It took less than 10 seconds to search and find this example. Dozens and dozens more like this. Please pass on to Dimbley. UK construction rises despite Brexit vote. There were several more. Companies moving their tax base to the UK to avoid proposed EU financial. Let's see, there was another one. BBC, in spite of Brexit. Brexit won't stop 20 million food firm plan. So I wanted to just let you know that you can look at that tweet, and it goes on to say record number of EU students choose Welsh University despite Brexit. So I was really happy to see people. I am behind you. You're right. I'm hearing it every day myself. That's what
I think that the UK is doing rather well in spite of Brexit. Fine. And I unfortunately that's the word that they're using, but I think it's because of. I really do think that people are excited about moving forward, about developing independent trade with countries and creating trade deals that are going to make a big impact, getting back their fishing water rights, Absolutely. Getting back their own legal system.
Right.
So I think that the UK people themselves are very excited.
You get two parties to make a trade themselves. It's going to be
better.
It's going to be more equal on both sides.
And it's going to be more specifically honed to the needs of each, in this case, country.
Right. So you have the European Union acting as this giant middleman. And we all know that when you cut out the middleman always takes a cut. Right. Like, I was looking up on eBay. eBay has this thing where you can send in your stuff and they'll sell it for you. But they, take these huge cuts, like 60% or something like that. So right. The EU takes these huge cuts in these trades, and... it's no good.
Hang on, because I want to hit some of the comments, because I know we're a little bit behind and it's hard to go back to the comments, but this is a really good tip. Most fish, tilapia in America, not so much. It's not a good fish. Don't eat it. But by and large, fish and avocados really do help cure hormonal deficiencies and imbalances and stuff like that. They create a balance there. So let's see. I wanted to get to some of the ones. Oh, shoot. Now I lost it. All right. That's okay. Moving on.
We covered this earlier, but I wanted to just go over this again because it's very interesting. Everybody's kind of finding this very, very interesting. So this British newspaper did get an anonymous tip just 25 minutes before JFK was assassinated. So that's one piece of information that has come out through the files, and FYI, Donald Trump has tweeted out that he's going to just release them all, which is kind of cool. So in this memo to the director of the FBI, it revealed that an anonymous phone call was made to an unnamed senior reporter at Cambridge News on the day Kennedy was shot in Dallas, Texas, in 1963. Now, from what I've read about this, it's interesting. There's a memo made, right? Mm-hmm. And some people couldn't corroborate this, and it was kind of like a legend that passed down through
through the office.
Through the office. But to have this kind of corroborated is really interesting. And why did they call other newspapers? Why just this one? So it's all very interesting. I just kind of wanted to feel free for everyone to swim in the waters of the JFK files.
Oh yeah, go ahead and send us. Because I'm going to be completely honest. There are too many for us to even take a crack at it. We're going to wait till other people find the gems and take a crack at it and bring them to us. I want to get back to. I know we're going to be jumping around on topics here, but the comments. We're on a 30-second lag here, guys. We're 30 seconds ahead of you. But Jack Russell says we would have had the Brexit that we voted for if Jacob Rees-Mogg was in charge. Running Out of Air says, imagine that, UK increasing jobs while the propaganda media parrots lies to the public.
So when you're talking about Jacob Rees-Mogg and you're talking about a Nigel Farage and other maybe conservative-leaning minds, the reason you don't see more of them is because of this. And one story really sticks out to me that makes me incredibly angry, and we'll get to that in a second. But right-wing students, and when we say right-wing, it's really pretty much anybody who has any non-SJW thinking, no social justice warrior thinking. If you just think clearly, right. I don't know if you guys have such a thing as a libertarian party in the UK. Horatio told me pretty much
800 parties. I don't know how many there are, but there are a lot of parties. There's a party for everything.
Horatio told me everyone's a socialist.
Hang on. So Will says, watch Jackie's left hand the whole time on Zapruder. He thinks it's scary, and in his opinion, thinks that it's more than possible. I don't know what you're referring to as more than possible. You mean like that she shot him? Clarify that. So somebody had said, and I just want to get to this because it's fun. Dale says, how come your hair looks longer when it's braided than when it's not braided? Do you both wear hair extensions for braids? So hang on. This is really Leah's hair. There's a lot to it there. So nope. And then mine is just it's all in there. Trust me. It's down to our low back. So there you go.
I take that as a compliment that it looks like
I do.
Hair
as a matter of fact, when we braid our hair, I don't know about you, I lose about 4 inches in length, like because the braid itself pulls it up. So there you go.
All right. So a survey from a leading think tank has revealed that an overwhelming majority of conservative-minded students, and you have to wonder where they came from, because it's very difficult to think for yourself when you're raised in a left-wing leading society. And my humble opinion says that a lot of UK schools still preach the gospel, still talk about Jesus, still read the Bible.
Yeah, because wasn't it Tracy that I read last week? She sent me that message saying that there's schools that are funded, but they're run by the church.
Right.
We don't have that here, and so they still do teach the gospel. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking, and the gospel in my mind sets you free and liberty, and you realize you can't steal things from people, you can't rob from Peter to pay Paul. The whole Robin Hood thing. It works well in a novel and it works well when there's like real evil people, but it doesn't work well when you're just your friendly neighbors and you're taking money from them. However, the overwhelming majority of conservative-minded students believe Britain's universities hold a clear and extreme bias against support for both Brexit and conservative views, which are not one and the same. Many liberal, leftish, even communist-leaning people voted to leave. Right. A lot of the people in the Labour Party.
Because you can still have a fully socialist and communistic country outside of the European Union. You just do it yourself.
The idea behind that is you have more control over
I know.
yourself to control where you're,
exactly.
Who you take money from.
Exactly. So you know what? In this instance, we'll take it.
Yeah. And to suppress their political beliefs for fear of putting their careers at risk. The Bow Group, the United Kingdom's oldest conservative think tank, conducted a survey in partnership with Conservative Progress of more than 400 conservative students in Britain. They found that 81% do not believe that the subject of the UK leaving the European Union is taught in an impartial manner, and of those, 97% said they believed lecturing was negative towards Brexit.
Wow.
A large number, 85%, also said they believe the public has a right to know what content is being taught and the level of bias to which it is being taught. This comes following outrage in the establishment media and liberal-dominated academia over Conservative MP Chris Heaton-Harris's attempt to research the level of anti-Brexit bias in Britain's higher education institutions, leading to accusations of him being a McCarthyism was when they went after the commies over on here and over here on this side of the pond. The protest by academics to Chris Heaton-Harris MP's attempt to investigate the level of bias on campus tells its own story, wrote the Bow Group chairman. They know how bad the problem is, but they don't want anyone else to know. Exposing the scale of this bias does not curtail free speech. It promises it. For too long, universities in Britain have been taking both taxpayers and students' money and giving them an extremely skewed view of the world. On Thursday, Breitbart London reported that university academics are plying their students with Stop Brexit propaganda at lectures after Tory MP Paul Scully shared on social media anti-Brexit leaflets that had been given to his daughter, an engineering student.
Wow.
Dr. John Stanley, Bow Group senior research fellow, said of the think tank's finding, any education institution that refuses to address the problem of bias and inaccurate teaching should have all state funding withdrawn and their accreditation reviewed. So what's also funny about this is that safe space marshals police Jacob Rees-Mogg's speech at London University for offensive views. A number of marshals policed a speech at King's College in London by Tory Brexiteer Jacob Rees-Mogg after his appearance was judged to pose a risk to the university's safe space policy.
Wow.
The $12 per hour marshals pounds are paid by King's College Students' Union to patrol events where it is thought that speakers could voice opinions which discriminate against ethnic minorities or LGBT people, as well as having a duty to put up posters telling the audience that this is a safe space and recording incidences of offensive or prejudiced behavior. The marshals carry phones and are expected to take immediate action if safe space policies are breached. On Wednesday, 3 safe space marshals monitored Rees-Mogg's appearance at King's College,
It sounds so childish
where
to
members
me.
of the audience held up posters mocking the policy.
Oh my gosh.
Which is hilarious. The third-year history student Greg Hall said the officials were all men dressed in black, and he mistook them for security guard.
Tana Terry says, I'm telling you, the world's governments are afraid of Christians.
Yes.
And they should be. They might actually brainwash people and wash their brains to the truth.
Yes.
It's a very scary thing, Donna. You're right.
Yes, the universities are, and you know what, we can laugh, but there's actually a story here that is deeply disconcerting to me. I think it might even be the same one. It might be...
Universities in
Here.
the UK want to indoctrinate, not teach. In fact, the universities dictate what students can debate in the student union, says Britt Baza.
And worse than that, look, here's this guy here. He's an ethnic minority, right? He's a black dude. He expressed a Christian ideal on a Facebook post. It was about the Kentucky woman here who stood her ground on the same-sex marriage law in Kentucky. And I'm going to get his quote right. He says, let's see. Kim Davis. Her name is Kim Davis, and he wrote that Davis's position was based on the biblical view of same-sex marriage as a sin, adding, same-sex marriage is a sin whether we like it or not.
True.
It is God's words, and man's sentiment would not change his words. Now, 2 months after he wrote that on Facebook,
Because apparently your Facebook is not your own thing anymore.
He received an email from university administrators advising him that his comments were being investigated. He was later interviewed by the university's investigatory team and was removed from his course by a panel who deemed his comments derogatory of gay men and bisexuals. The married 39-year-old then sought legal support and to have this, it was Sheffield's University decision here, arguing in court that his rights to freedom of speech had been breached and that he was merely expressing common Christian biblical beliefs. Lawyers representing the university said he had shown no insight and that Sheffield's University had to consider his fitness to practice in social work. The court heard that the university investigatory team accepted that Felix was fully entitled to his religious beliefs and had acted with honesty and integrity. They said it was not his views that were at issue, but his public posting of these views, which could cause damage, as they may cause offense to some individuals. Now, when expressing something that has been truth for thousands of years
on your own personal Facebook page, from what I understand, this was not on a university page. This was not on something that represented the university. It was his own personal page. Your life has to be able to stop. Your job. You're not your job.
They're saying that it wasn't his intent to be discriminatory, but that these comments could be accessed and read by people who would perceive them as judgmental, incompatible with service ethos, or suggestive of discriminatory intent. Now, to call out something as sin, would it be wrong for me to say listening? Would they kick him off for saying listening to Beyonce's music is a sin, even though many people listen to it,
right?
There's a lot of things that people think are sinful. I mean, Jews, a lot of them actually believe it's sinful to eat pork.
We're the biggest sinners of all.
I know, we grow them.
Will says, now we need a second Reformation and build churches online, less government control.
Right.
I kind of fear, though, if you put churches online, which ours is, that the government would try to go in and censor,
Yeah, and this is really important because this is one of those basic tenets of Christian faith. If you can't say that marriage is between a man and a woman, or that a homosexual act is sinful,
right?
Where do you draw the line? I mean, some people, it's your perception of sin. He didn't say that they should be punished. He didn't call for it. You draw the line when people call for violence against someone.
We were going to cover this, but I think that would be a good segue to that now, and then we could still sing the song at the end. Just because, to me, it's the same thing of censorship,
right?
Because you're afraid you're going to offend somebody.
Yeah, I think they brought.
I saw that you had it up. I don't know where you had it.
I had it up. So yeah, there was a vicar who banned singing "Onward Christian Soldiers," and I'm gonna just bring that up.
It's it'll say "Oh Dabbly," odd be at the top. Start with an O. You might have closed it out.
I think I might have. Okay, so
Daily Mail.
Vicar bans hymn "Onward Christian Soldiers" from Remembrance Sunday service because not everyone attending will be Christian. It's a church service.
Now, apparently, the participants march into the church to this hymn on Remembrance Sunday. So this is something that they have done. So the Royal British Legion branch members are furious, and they ban to boycott the service. I'm guessing that already happened this morning. If I'm correct.
Every year the parade has marched into St. Peter's Church in Odeby, Leicestershire to the traditional hymn. Every year to this hymn. But this year, Victor Steve Bailey allegedly vetoed the song because people at the services would not necessarily be Christian. Ian Thorpe, vice chairman of the Legion Club, which is across the road from the church, told the Leicester Mercury the new vicar is not happy with Onward Christian Soldiers being sung. He continued, it's been done nearly every year in recent memory, but he said they're not doing it because not everyone at the service will be Christians. It's not the soldiers bit, it's the Christian bit. He said the club's chairman, Pete Green, was planning to boycott the service. He said one family who go to the church have said they're going to stand outside the church and sing it. Chairman of the club, Pete, who is also a member of the branch committee, is thinking about not going into church and just laying a wreath. The majority of those of us in the Legion are not happy with it. Reverend Bailey told the paper he did not want to comment on the story. This is very interesting. Why would you... I'm not going to go into... I would never expect to go into a Buddhist temple or a mosque and for them not to sing or do something because a Christian entered or something like that. I gotta
tell you, as a Christian, if I enter into a mosque, I'm offended by everything. So you really should just shut down your whole mosque.
Well, they're taking down crosses off of yogurt advertisements now because Greek yogurt is a thing, and so they have a picture of Greece with the churches with the cross on them. But the ads are now erasing the crosses because Muslims find them offensive.
Of course they do. There's power in that cross.
There's a reason why priests go into exorcisms with the cross.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. There's power in the cross. There's power in it.
Donna Norris says, what about the church in VA who wants to take George Washington's plaque in the church he attended?
Yes, that's something that makes me so angry. They want to take down, they are going to take down a memorial to George Washington from the church he attended, because some might find George Washington, the founder of our country,
church, man,
offensive.
They want to wipe out the entire history of everything around the world. It's not just in America, because the history, a lot of it has gems that lead people to Jesus Christ, and that's why they have to get rid of it.
Can you hear the demons screaming? When you finally hear the demons screaming, then you can just say, "Be gone in the name of Jesus."
Right.
Right?
John Daniel says there's power in the blood, too.
And so the idea that they're taking down the crosses and they're not allowing you to sing the songs just goes to show you...
Here's a little help. Go ahead. Finish your sentence.
No, go ahead.
Nope. Leicestershire. That's how it's said. Leicestershire.
Like Worcestershire?
Yeah.
Is it sure? Because we say Worcestershire.
Shire. Robert Goddard says
Shire. So. Shire. Worcestershire. Leicestershire. Leicestershire. This, I'm going to bring this up because this goes along with it from Breitbart News. Just top UK university to swap portraits of bearded white scholars with wall of diversity. The King's College in London, ranked one of the best universities in the world, is to remove statues and pictures of key figures involved in the establishment of the institutions that make up the college and replace them with more diverse images. This is called rewriting history.
Sure.
And
yeah, we have different ways to say it. Sure.
Okay.
Sure thing.
All right, we're going to get to Hungary. I think we're gonna
because I want to get back to Will's comments where he finished the whole Jackie thing. Jackie had roses in her hand, pulls Jack forward with right hand, or John, and watch the bullet trail slowed down straight through the top of the head. Governor Connolly mentioned later about watch she did, or what I think, in an interview. Mrs. Connolly saw it all. Then they folded forward in the seat while she drops pistol behind Jack or John F. Kennedy's back, and then the scalp grab. So he's saying you might be able to see that if you watch it slowly. I've not been able to see that, but now that you've mentioned it with the details, I'll go back and watch it again myself. Very good. Thank you for that.
Okay, so we're going to go to Canada. Here's the Australian one I meant to bring up. Gender switch decision. Father loses battle over... Sorry, I was going to try an Aussie accent, but I just messed up for a second. Over daughter's brainwashing. A teenager
has won the right to switch from female to male over the objection of her father, who claims she was brainwashed by doctors. I think at one point I'm told by Worth a Look that it turns. I think I spoke like 5 different accents in one, Australian, like Pakistani.
But your Australian accent makes me laugh every time. Keep reading that though,
because it's so terrible.
It's really
awful.
good. It's so
There's
funny.
800 different accents in there.
Just keep going.
All right, the family court ruled the 15-year-old known as Ryan was sufficiently competent to make the decision despite the father's protests. His child was too young and had been indoctrinated by doctors. to push their cause. I can't. It's too much. All right, let's get to the real news. Yeah, I can't do it without laughing. Go ahead.
Okay, well, that was the story.
Oh, okay.
We covered it earlier, but it's very disconcerting. It's nothing to laugh about, but
no, it's not.
If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
True.
Over that one. So let's see. I think I was going to go to Canada next.
I feel like I'm running when I do it.
Okay.
Running blindfolded, that's what it feels like.
So, this isn't just Canada. This is the same headline that is all over Europe and in the United States as well. But I'm bringing up the Canadian one, eh? At least 60 Islamic State fighters have returned to Canada. A new report, they always say...
says, that's very good, Michelle. Now he says, say, a dingo has got your baby. No, I think it went British. I don't know.
That's good.
Yeah.
And a boomerang.
We have
to
have a little fun around here.
A new report claims that at least 60 Islamists who fought for the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq have been allowed to return to Canada, despite some of them not even having Canadian citizenship. Around 180 individuals referred to as extremist travelers.
Is that really a thing? I want to become an extremist traveler where I just travel to the extreme. Like I travel nonstop. I want people to say you move. I actually really like being at
by
home.
the Canadian government, who have connections to Canada, I went to the Red Pill Expo and I listened to an older gentleman and literally he said like every 2 words, I was like,
it was hard to listen to. Yeah.
We just stop,
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, have traveled to various countries to fight for Islamic State, and other radical Islamic terrorist groups. The Canadian government officials call the returning jihadists extremist travelers, and are now worried that many of them may be a serious security risk to the safety of Canadians. I can see how they get stuck in it, because you just start saying it, and it just keeps coming. It's like a tick, According to the U.S. Sufin Center, who recently released a report on the returning Islamic State radicals, despite the losses for the terror group in the Middle East, the ideology of radical Islamism will remain real for many years to come. Now, I was also reading another article that said that the reason a lot of the converts from non-Arab countries, Belgium, the United States, converts from Canada, converts from the UK, people who are born not Muslim. The reason they become radical is because those are the ones that the preachers are reaching out to, disenfranchised people who are maybe mentally weak or have a criminal intent anyway.
Already. Predisposition.
Right. It's highly likely that even as the territorial caliphate shrinks and is increasingly denied an overt presence, its leadership will look to supporters overseas, including returnees, to keep the brand alive. If on return they begin again to feel as rootless and lacking in purpose as they did before they left, then they are unlikely to settle back easily into normal life. What does that even mean? I went to Syria to fight for the Islamic State, and I'm just going to go... The authors wrote and noted that the returning fighters would be particularly vulnerable to contact from people who were part of the network that recruited them, or appeals for help from ex-comrades in arms. Canada has already endured terrorist attacks for which the Islamic State have taken credit. So I wanted to bring that up. One Islamic State returnee spoke to Canadian media about his experiences as part of the terror group's Sharia police. The unnamed Pakistani Canadian brushed off his time with the terror group, saying, "We all do things we regret and all that is behind me." I want to bring this up to you because this is the mindset of these young men who go and fight for Syria. Or fight in Syria. This is not about Syria. It's about people who want an Islamic State. Let me see if I can get it started here.
Right.
Okay. And I have my computer muted because I didn't want ads to play. So let me unmute. I'm going to have to read it anyways because it's in... This is Michael Delaforte.
Three.
An altar boy turned ISIS fighter.
Wow.
There's going to be a moment the spit is going to fall in your own face. The attacks, it's a reaction. In every war.
I know, it takes a second for the Twitter to
has its casualties. So we Muslims, we believe in the life afterwards, and we believe that this life has only the value of proving ourselves against our creators.
He was among the first wave of Europeans to head for Syria. We're going to get it going here. Per capita, this is a Belgium interview, I guess. He was Belgian. Belgium has sent more fighters to Iraq and Syria than any other country in Europe. So that's him with his...
How many people do you know from your group of friends who've left for Syria?
I have to keep it small, sorry. I don't know. I'll put the link. The link will be in the description.
60.
60 people
What happened
he
to
knew.
the 60 people?
Wow.
A lot of them went to paradise.
Went to paradise. Last year, De La Forte was convicted in the largest terror trial in Belgian history. He received 3 years probation. He's back in Belgium.
My dream is
and he still supports ISIS.
Underneath the Islamic Caliphate, underneath the Islamic law. That's my dream.
Do you think that's ever going to happen here?
In Europe?
Yes.
There will be a day.
Wow.
It's a goal, and it's an Islamic goal.
You think sooner or later they'll make it to Europe?
I think they're already in Europe. Because ISIS is not a group, it's an ideology.
So, if that doesn't send shivers down your spine, and that's one of the disenfranchised that I would tell you, that obviously he was Belgian, and speaking of Belgium, we have a Belgian viewer who sent me a link, and I'm just going to read it to you. This has nothing to do with Islamic terror, but the fact that the reason things don't change is because people tend to believe what they hear.
Right.
In general.
Well, that's just that's who we are.
I like what Anime Freak he calls his groups skeptic channels, and I just call them, just truth channels. Some people call them truth channels. And more than just truth, it's just seeking out how to be able to identify when somebody is not telling the truth, somebody who's lying. And so I think that Michelle and I, if there's something good to come out of the way that we were raised,
yes, many good things,
is that our mom and the Word of God have taught us how to identify when somebody's a creeper, when somebody is lying, somebody who is...
We have a really good creep radar.
Abusive, somebody who's taking advantage of people.
Right.
I'm not saying that we always catch it, but more often than not, I usually err on the side of...
Everybody's a creep?
Everybody's a creeper.
Until not a creeper.
Yeah.
Proven.
Exactly. So everyone's a liar.
And that's a really healthy outlook for us to have in today's day and age. Because when we were kids, it started to implement. But I would say more or less when my mom was a kid, by and large, you could trust almost all your everyday people. Okay, like my mom said that the neighborhood moms used to discipline the other neighborhood kids. You didn't have to worry about some mom being some weird psycho. Everybody was just kind of, by and large, okay, go with me here, normal. But we have switched. The paradigm has shifted so far in the other direction that we must always, the Bible talks about us testing the spirits.
Right, exactly.
And so I go into, whenever I meet anybody, even when I interact with you guys online, to always test the spirit first. So when we watch Alex Jones or even listen to President Trump, we're constantly testing the spirit behind, because guess what? Who a person is really isn't going to shift that much, but it can. In even a moment, you can kind of see a little bit of a difference, there. We change who we are. Psychologically, this is totally proven, who we're around. So a lot of times we're going to see a change in Trump or even a change in Alex Jones or anyone that you really respect. You'll notice when they get around certain people, they shift to a point where you're like, wait a minute, where did you go? And we all kind of do that because we chameleon ourselves to adapt to certain situations. And I would say for most of us, we shift for our abusers way more than anything else.
Right. So this is what she sent me. This was Belgian news, and I'll just give you like a clip of what this looks like, just so you can know. And she said it was like at the
near the end. I thought she said it was the last 10 seconds.
In zijn eigen partij.
So
Republikeinse senatoren willen bij de verkiezingen zelfs niet.
This is the Belgium news talking about Donald Trump. And what she says is, so I'm watching your bombshell show, and she goes, normally I don't watch the regular news here, but for some reason yesterday it was on the telly, and I found it really hard to watch at the end of the news where they talked about Trump, the Clintons, and Obama. So I know you don't understand the Dutch language, and I will try to translate this as good as possible. And then she sent me the link for the whole coverage.
And here's her translation
she says,
of it.
So I want to show you this to both of you because the way it is represented in our news, I find it hilarious, but it also makes me sad because of the way they do this. This is how they represent it. She's like basically saying the American president loses more and more support from his Republican Party associates, which if you were watching the news and you didn't watch our news, you would see a total, you would believe that because Bob Corker isn't running again. Flake isn't. I believe he said he wasn't going to run again.
Right.
But this is because Steve Bannon is waging a war against establishment Republicans. These people aren't true Americans. They don't want to put America first. They're Democrats. They're playing Halloween all the time. They have a Democrat face on them. And we don't like to say Republican or Democrat, but these people have shown over and over again that they are corrupt to the core.
Yes.
And so when you see these Republicans not running again, it's not because they don't support Donald Trump. It's because they won't win again. They're just, I know I won't win.
So
there
great.
are people who are ready to take...
They're throwing a big hissy fit about it. Like, they're not, that's not why they're saying they're leaving.
Right, but what's hilarious is there are Republicans ready to take their spot. So the Republicans aren't leaving Donald Trump. Better people are coming up all over the place. I get excited if you follow Breitbart. They've kind of switched to, 2018 elections, and that's kind of all that they cover, and that's okay. That's their thing. That's what they're going to do. But if you want to follow that, it's pretty cool. But anyways, she goes on to say, the two Republican senators don't want to come up on the next elections if he is still in. They call the president a liar who undermines the position on the U.S. and other countries. Then they say Trump responded by saying those senators were lightweights, like the term in boxing. Then they show you the footage of just Flake, the one you covered. They say in this footage in Dutch that Flake does not mention names, but that it is about Trump, blah, 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 and he undermines the U.S., blah, blah, blah. Then they show the tweet about Trump and the tweet about the senator, about Trump being a baby, and all the inappropriate pictures and cartoons. At the end, when they finish the Trump is bad tour, they slide this in for, 10 seconds, that the Republicans in the House... don't know you guys know, start 2 investigations about email from Clinton and the search for uranium. So they spend this tiny little bit.
And then at the end, they throw in 10 seconds.
On the... So thank you so much for sending that to me. It's very good to know how the U.S. is being reported, which is why we bring you guys the UK news, why we try to, world news, if you want to call it. People who come from... Judeo-Christian values at their core and their governments, their constitutions and things like that. We share a lot in common, and we have the same global people above us. So thank you so much. That's out of Belgium. Now on to something incredibly beautiful, but interesting. We're gonna do Hungary last. Are you hungry?
I have a couple. I have some from Poland that I want to do first.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so Will had sent this to me. Poland to white nationalist Richard Spencer, keep out. The American far-right leader plans to address an extremist rally in Warsaw next month, but the Polish foreign minister says he should not appear publicly. The Polish government has expressed strong objections to plans by American white nationalist Richard Spencer to speak at a far-right conference in Warsaw in November, but did not say if it would prevent him from entering the country. Foreign Minister Witold, I'm not even going to do the last name, and Zinski, describes Spencer as someone who, quote, defames what happened during World War II and defames the Holocaust. He should not appear publicly, and especially not in Poland. Spencer, 39, is the white supremacist leader who organized the August rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, that turned violent, killing a woman. We also know that it was a false flag. I think he's a patsy here, but I still think he is a piece on the chessboard that they are trying to play. And also, I think there's probably a little bit of pride. He doesn't want to give up. He wants to continue doing his thing. However, I'm really, really proud of Poland for saying no. no, the buck stops with us. This is not what we're about. So then in addition to that, I do want to go ahead and get to, and I'm wondering if maybe I can somehow forward this to you so that you can pull it up, but that I can still read it. But one of our Polish viewers had again done a translation for, and I told him we were going to do that this weekend for the Miriam Shadid interview. Let me just see if I can send this to you really quickly in one of the emails. Sorry, I know how to do a forward.
Why don't I just look that up? You want me to bring up?
Well, because I hate to bring up other people's email in the background.
Right, yeah, me too.
So there's never anything important in that one. So go ahead and pull that up and I'll start reading it and then they can have the picture in the background.
Okay.
All right, so we've covered Miriam Shadid a couple of times before, which is why he went ahead and did this translation for us, for one of their more popular magazines, which I don't know how to pronounce. You have to download the actual file once it comes.
Okay.
So the magazine asks, how would you describe yourself and who you are? She says, I am a social activist and an influencer. What do you mean by an influencer? A public person who has an impact on the way other people perceive reality. And then they ask, in what areas do you have influence on people? She says, providing information, speaking out about problems publicly, and facilitating social debate are often perceived as inferior and unimportant issues. Frequently, an accusation of Islamophobia is raised. However, without these actions, no important social, political, or economical change would take place. I'm doing what I can to provide accurate, reliable information, analysis, and increase social interest and raise awareness of a given problem as well as facilitate the will to help. I know that these actions can end a war or put an end to tragedies of many people. My goal is to inform about incidents of breaking human rights and about situations which can evolve into social discrimination or an open conflict. I'm trying to show the truth and expose manipulations which could harm Polish interests, European values, and Christians who live in the Middle East. So just to give you guys a backstory, when we had covered, she really is an activist that is exposing the harms of Islam to Poland, and she has been on Alex Jones before as well. So they ask her, in the Middle East, Muslims also murder other Muslims, Sunni murder Shias murder Sunni, etc. Maybe we should also help somehow help Muslims. She said, I do not intend to help anyone in murdering each other. Islam is like a mafia organization. There are people who do not want to be there, apostates and non-believers who live facing the threat of death. There are also women who were deprived of any rights and dignity, including being subjected to female genital mutilation to prevent them from feeling sexual pleasure till the end of their lives. These are the people one should help. Estera Foundation does it every day. The biggest oppression which was imposed on Muslims was caused by their own ideology. That is why we can only help by banning these type of procedures, orders, and prohibitions which exist in this religion. Telling women that their own body is, and then he actually, I don't want to read that word the way he translated it, but a crude word, is hadiths, as he put it, is degrading them and taking away their dignity, meaning their female body parts. Is not who they are. By the way, this is the origin of the order that a woman's body has to be fully covered. Unfair order can only be nullified by a ban. She says, or then they ask her, it's unclear how many of the Syrians you brought to Poland still remain in our country. Some say that all of them left predominantly to Germany. Is that true? She said, in fact, about 75% of them, if they found better prospects somewhere else. I am not surprised that they left. Making an accusation out of it serves the purpose of helping persecuted Christians in a bad light. However, some of them stayed in Poland. Some opened Syrian restaurants. Others are studying, work in translations. They found their place. I am most proud of the fact that I managed to save 174 people from slaughter. The Syrians thank me for it with tears in their eyes. Then they ask her, nowadays, Esteria Foundation does not bring Christians from Syria anymore, so what do you do? She says, I'm trying to help these Polish women who live through hell because they are in relationships with Muslims. I receive many messages from women who write that they were raped by their Muslim husbands, or that their children were abducted, or that a Muslim threatens that he would kill her parents, and her children because she rejects his advances. Other than that, I'm fighting against a gruesome practice of female genital mutilation and against the Islamization of Europe. Then they ask, do such stories take place in Poland? It's hard to believe. She says, yes, a lot. Additionally, the women have quite a big problem with the Polish legal system. I can tell about the story of Karolina She gave me her permission to share her name with the public. When she was in Great Britain, she met a Pakistani. This man used physical and sexual violence against her. Carolina got pregnant with him and gave birth to a child. This child probably also was the victim of sexual violence, or at least that's a possibility suggested by the results of evaluation performed by a children's psychologist. At present, Carolina is in Poland with the child, but on the basis of the Hague Convention of 1980 about children kidnappings, her child might be returned to the father, who simultaneously has a restraining order in Great Britain and is not allowed to approach her or the child. The thing is that courts who deal with such cases do not take such circumstances into consideration. Usually they only check if children were brought into Poland without the father's consent, and if that was the case, these children are returned back to the father, as the courts want to get rid of the problem as soon as possible. That is why I'm very glad that the Polish Ministry of Justice took interest in this subject and is working on regulations which should change courts' practice. Many Polish women lost their children this way. I hope that in the nearest future, with cooperation with the ministry, it will be possible to implement with other regulations which will help women in such situations. There's 2 questions left. Actually, there's a few more, but I'm gonna go
ahead. This is good.
Okay, good. I want to make sure you guys are still with me. Islam does not have a good press in Poland nowadays. Why do women decide to engage in relationships with Muslims? This is a really good question. Why do they do it? Even if they meet a decent man who doesn't beat and doesn't rape, cultural differences alone may be difficult to accept. First and foremost, we women all have all are naive in love. When you form a close relationship with someone, you always hope that this other person is better than they are in this reality. Also, there are women who for some reason cannot find a suitable partner in Poland, and then a foreigner emerges on the horizon. He says he loves them, adores them, writes letters, messages, and in general does his best, and it works. On top of that, we have to add watering down the nature of Islam in the media, how Islam sees marriage, and the role of the man and the woman. Go ahead and read the next question.
You're exaggerating at this point. Which Polish media show Muslims in such a way? I'm not exaggerating one bit, she says. I saw very positive materials about specific Muslims on TV and television. Those were the very same men that women wrote and complained about in their messages to me. Mentioned earlier, Carolina Shizdik told me that she would never have formed a relationship with a Muslim if she had not been lied to by the media about the nature of Islam.
Wow.
Media do not realize how they hurt people by spreading untruth. All fine. But what evidence do you have that these are not isolated cases of violence? Those happen in Poland among Christians and atheists. Why do you think it is a systematic phenomenon in the Muslim community? The rate of violence against women in Poland is the lowest in Europe. However, in any country, the rate gets higher proportionally with the number of Muslims living there.
And
there is no question what Islam instills in people. In Islam, women are a property of man. She does not have her own integrity. She is the plowing field. Some time ago, I believe your most radical statement was broadly debated. You said that Islam should be made illegal in Poland. I think that you went too far here. How can you make one of the third biggest religions illegal? You can. I believe that Islam is not only contradictory to the Polish Constitution, but also to international human rights conventions.
I agree.
In Article 58 of the Constitution, we read that organizations whose aim or activity contradicts the Constitution are forbidden. It goes on to ask, on the other hand, Polish Constitution guarantees freedom of religion. That includes Muslims. Exactly. Article 53 states that freedom of religion includes freedom of religion practices as well as accepting religion according to one's own decision. In Islam, apostasy is punishable by death.
Explain apostasy.
When you turn away and you stop being a Muslim.
So you don't have the right to not be a Muslim.
Exactly. Similarly, being a non-believer, ergo Islam, is contradictory to basic rights guaranteed by our Constitution. Islam is the dominant religion in 50 countries where Christians are persecuted the most.
Yep.
Christians are being murdered on a mass scale. Boys are raped, their genitals are cut off and inserted into their mouths, and later the boys are crucified. Small Christian girls are raped, their blood is drained into buckets, and they have their heads cut off.
But nobody talks about this.
Your views are quite radical! It's like,
that's what the interviewer says. Do you feel safe?
That's true. I received threats. Recently, a Palestinian man who lives in nearby Polish city of Wrocław threatened me via Facebook. He threatened that he would kidnap me and then, I quote, would make a motorway out of me and would rent me to everybody for free. I apologize to the vulgarity of this quote, but that's how he described it. I reported it. First the police and then the prosecutor's office investigated the case, but Facebook declined revealing the man's personal details. This way, Facebook is protecting him, which in its own right is scandalous. When I checked other pieces of information about this man, it turned out that he boasted he built bombs in Palestine and claimed that all Muslims support ISIS. Last two questions. Your father is Assyrian. He has lived in Poland since the 70s, and your mother is Polish. What influence does it have on you? Do you feel is partly Syrian? Problems and mentality of Middle East world are close to me. I understand them and have lots of empathy for women who live there. I could be in their shoes.
Wow.
Your father is a clergyman of Good Shepherd Church. You belong to this congregation yourself. How the fact that you're a clergyman's daughter impacts your mindset. The most important thing for my parents was to raise me as a good human being, and I think they were successful. Though at times I have a feeling I get attacked because of that. I'm too good for some. Faith gives me strength to action. And
so thank you, Marcin, for doing that translation
Marcin,
again.
your translation is amazing.
Yes.
I really appreciate that. If this was in English, if her interview was in English for everyone, we should probably send that to Alex Jones since you translated that, because everyone should read it. And all of her speech should be translated to English. We've actually shared some of her videos, which were translated to English. So what I want to do right now, because this segues perfectly. This is Ayana Hershey Ali.
Love her.
She is a victim of female genital mutilation. She went to the Netherlands and actually became part of the parliament in the Netherlands, and she speaks out against abuse of women. She wonders, where are the feminists in the Muslim world? And this is from Prager University, and this is beautiful what she put together here. So, and
culture matters. It's the primary source of social progress or regression. Nowhere do we see this more clearly than in the status of women. The Judeo-Christian culture, and perhaps a more uptwardly civilization, has produced over time the law codes, language, and material prosperity that have greatly elevated women's status.
I want to point out here, she's not a Christian.
Yeah.
And she's not a Jew.
Right.
So it's just truth that the Judeo-Christian values
Agreed.
have produced laws and codes that have elevated
Right.
women's status. And have actually, when you look at it, it was Christians who were the ones adamant against segregation. It's Christians who were adamant against slavery. Why is that? Because as Christians, I've read that Bible from cover to cover. God created Adam and Eve. He created everyone. He loves everyone. He wants everyone to come to him. He wants everyone to be kind and loving and gentle and caring. He wants husbands to take care of their wives. He wants wives to take care of their children and to love them and to nurture them. He wants people to be free. He wants people to have healthy food. He wants people to have good shelter and clean water. And these are the things that God wants. And he's given us free will, which makes it so that mankind can destroy things and hurt people. However, the great minds who have allowed what's called the revelation of Jesus Christ, there are the laws of nature that you can see, and then you have it revealed to you on the inside,
Right.
which is what John Locke talked about, William Blackstone talked about. All these great minds have come from the soil of Judeo-Christian values. So, sorry to interrupt you, Ayana. You're awesome.
But this progress is not shared everywhere. There are still hundreds of millions of people that live in a culture, the Islamic for instance, that takes female inferiority for granted. Until recently, these cultures, the Western and the Islamic, were for the most part separated. But that is changing, dramatically so. Large numbers of immigrant men from the Middle East, South Asia, and various parts of Africa have brought a different set of values to the West, specifically Europe. More than
I'm pause again, because what I want to point out is she fled a culture.
Right.
And I have a video, and I would love to find it again. I watched it where I believe it's in Nigeria. In Nigerian schools, they've gone into the girls and the boys, and they're teaching the boys to respect women and not to rape them.
Huh.
And there's a whole program, and they're teaching girls self-defense and to say stop. But my point is, they have to do this because it's in their culture. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Even if it wasn't, so they're actually training in the schools what
to go against
what's being taught at
culture,
home or whatever.
what they see around them. And
Right.
so it's not and it's very important for us to show it's not necessarily a Muslim thing. But it can be.
Right.
But it's a cultural thing. They even say that female genital mutilation isn't practiced by all Muslims. It's not
Right.
a Muslim thing. It's a cultural thing that has
Right.
been absorbed into the North African version
Agreed.
of Islam.
Right.
And so, okay, moving on.
Million arrived in 2015 alone. More are on the way.
I think it would help people who are afraid of talking about Muslims to say that there are things that are in a culture. There is a culture. There's a culture of cannibals in Australia.
Yeah.
And what's funny is we covered it. It was like that one
reporter.
That one
I can't
reporter.
remember his
He
name.
ate a brain and stuff like that from the
That's
Hindu
a
thing.
human. Oh,
What I'm trying to say is that's a cultural thing. It's
Yeah.
not a Hindu thing. It's and so would you want to import a large number of those of people in that mindset and a culture to the United States?
We don't need any cannibals here.
As a result, crimes against girls and women, groping, harassments, assaults, and rape have risen sharply. These crimes illustrate the stark difference between the Western culture of the victims and that of the perpetrators.
And what they're finding,
Go ahead.
is that they're not getting punished. What happens, the reason we have law and order usually follows law, is because you understand that if you do something, you're going to get in trouble. But what the Muslim men that are used to being able to do this in their own countries are finding in the European countries is that they're not going to get in trouble, so they can continue with it.
And I'm not even going to say it's Muslim men. When it comes from Africa,
Sure.
When they're coming up from Africa, there's dictators.
The point is
communists,
that they're being taught that it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it helps to shift
Yep.
the view to cultural.
I like it.
When we're talking about Mugabe, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Zambia. We're talking about we're talking about Zaire. We're talking about Zimbabwe. We're talking about different areas that might not view race relations the best. They might hate white people. So they come up and they see
Right.
white people, they want to rape them. I mean, so there's all kinds of things that are within this.
Right.
Let me be clear. Not all immigrant men, or even most, indulge in sex attacks or approve of such attacks. But it's a grave mistake to deny that the value system of the attackers is radically different from the value system of the West. In the West, women are emancipated and sexually autonomous. Religiosity and sexual behavior or sexual restraint is determined by women's individual wishes. The other value system is one in which women are viewed as either commodities, that is, their worth depends on their virginity, or on the level of a prostitute if they're guilty of public immodesty, wearing a short skirt, for example. I do not believe these value systems can coexist.
True.
The question is which value system will prevail. Unfortunately, this remains an open question. The current situation in Europe is deeply troubling. Not only are Muslim women within Europe subject to considerable oppression in many ways, such norms now risk spreading to non-Muslim women who face harassment from Muslim men. One would think that Western feminists in the United States and Europe would be very disturbed by this obvious misogyny. But
they're
sadly,
not.
with few exceptions, this does not appear to be the case. Common among many Western feminists is a type of moral confusion in which women are said to be oppressed everywhere, and that this oppression, in feminist Eve Ensler's words, is exactly the same around the world, in the West, just as in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Iran.
Really?
To me, this suggests too much moral relativism and an inadequate understanding of Sharia law.
True.
It is true that the situation for women in the West is not perfect, but can anyone truly deny that women enjoy greater freedom and opportunities in the United States, France, and Finland than they do in Iran, Pakistan, or Saudi Arabia?
Wow.
Other feminists have also argued that non-Western women do not need saving, and that any suggestion that they need help from Western feminists is insulting and condescending to non-Western women. My perspective is a practical one. Any efforts that help Muslim women, whether they live in the West or under Islamic governments, should be encouraged. Every effort to pressure these governments to change unjust laws should be supported. Western feminists and female Western leaders have a simple choice to make. Either excuse the inexcusable or demand reform in cultures and religious doctrines that continue to oppress women. Nothing illustrates this better than what happened in Cologne, Germany on New Year's Eve 2015. That night, during the city's traditional celebrations, numerous German women, 467 at the last count, reported being sexually harassed or assaulted by men of North African and Arab origin. Within 2 months, 73 suspects had been identified, most of them from North Africa. 12 of them have been linked to sexual crimes. Yet, in response to the attacks, Cologne's feminist mayor Henriette Reker issued an arm's-length guideline to women. Just keep an arm's-length distance between you and a mob of Arab men, she advised Cologne's female population.
Seriously?
And you will be fine.
That'll do it. Just stay
Mayor
within
Reker's
the arm's length
comments
plates.
underline the serious.
In Germany, the women have long arms like you, so it might work.
No, you can't come. I'm going to add a few more inches to the arm's length. Nobody is coming within my arm's length here. All right? If I'm going over there, I'm putting this in my suitcase and it is coming with me. I don't care if it's, are you guys allowed to even carry knives over there? I don't know. But when I come, I'm coming with mine.
Of the problem. A culture clash is upon us. The first step in resolving it is to unapologetically defend the values that have allowed women to flourish. Feminists with their organizations, networks, and lobbying power need to be on the front lines of this battle. Their relevance depends on it. And so does the well-being of countless women, Western and non-Western. I'm Ayaan Hirsi Ali of Harvard University for Prager University.
I
Wow.
think that's wonderful. And
Well
I actually
done.
have another one to go along with this. This is not...
Jim says bringing in people from those cultures in tiny numbers might let them integrate, but they feel that they are the majority and they are emboldened. We see this with the call to prayer in the streets, blocking traffic, things like that, where they do feel very, very emboldened. It's scary.
This is a woman. She, this is on the ex-Muslims on Twitter. She says, I fled domestic abuse. Now my father and uncles are hoping to find me and kill me. The Saudi government offers to imprison me. And she goes on to say that she's tried to call the domestic, they have a hotline for abuse in Saudi Arabia. She tried to call it, and they said that she had to come in. And she was like, I can't get out. They won't let me leave. Well, we can't help you until you come in. And then if she does get out, they'll put her in. There's like a home for women who fled domestic violence, but they end up like dead and abused in this home, treated horribly. So
there's hoping that he could find me and kill me, and he was actually chasing me since I left home.
it's a Twitter video again.
You would end up in jail in the UK for even thinking about a knife in your pocket. But nice move. You seriously can't carry a knife.
And I know that something could happen soon. I'm a victim of physical abuse and verbal abuse. The last thing happened.
Guys around, you're not really a man unless you have a pocket knife around
Here,
here.
and
You're like,
I don't view you as one.
Open up twine. You got a knife. Who's got a knife?
Terrible.
You got a
Who's
knife?
got the knife? And
Who's
we
got
always
the
make
knife?
fun of them because if you're the guy in the room that doesn't have the knife, you're like, oh, you're the guy that doesn't have the knife.
Yes, my father he forced me to marry my cousin. That kind of pulled the trigger, and I felt like I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't do it. It's just nonsense that when I call the domestic violence number and they tell me, no, you need to come so you can file the report. I'm telling them that I can't come. I'm in prison in the house. I was just abused and the door are locked. Why can't you just come and just save me? And they don't come. They want you to come, and not just the fact that they want you to come, they want you to bring one of the male members of your family. So I left home with the hope that I'm gonna be protected. But before I leave home, I tried to leave outside the country. But I was caught and sent back to Saudi Arabia. My father and my uncle as well. My uncle threatened me that he's gonna kill me as soon as I get back to Saudi Arabia. But I was lucky enough to escape home before he even see me. The only offer that the government gives me is to imprison me in the women's shelter for the rest of my life. I know that my life gonna end if I go to that place, which is prison for women who left their home or who were like subjected to physical abuse. Why the hell is it difficult to just give me my rights and let me live in peace? Why can't you just protect me from my abusers?
It's a really good question.
Wow.
And there's kind of a line being drawn in the sand, and you have to be careful in that when you are talking about these cultures, because I really wanted to call it a culture. It's not a religion, it's a culture. When you're talking about a culture that treats people so horribly.
Because religion makes it seem like powder puffs it a little bit.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Like it's a big teddy bear. It's just a religion.
So, Saudi Arabia wants to return to moderate open Islam, says the Crown Prince. And this was shared widely on Twitter this week. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, has vowed to restore moderate Islam that is open to all religions in the world. We are returning to what we were before, a country of moderate Islam that is open to all religions of the world. We will not spend the next 30 years of our lives dealing with destructive ideas. We will destroy them today. We will end extremism soon. Riyadh is known for its adherence to ultra-conservative norms. How come they get to be called ultra-conservative and everybody else gets to be called far-right? Why Saudi Arabia gets to be called ultra-conservative? It just means when you hear ultra-conservative, you just think somebody who is just kind of conservative.
I don't know. I guess I really view ultra conservatives as like good, wholesome, religious.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
People.
But when they call us, everybody left of Stalin, far right. It's like this bad, horrible name. Right. So Saudi Arabians are even given. Why is it that the Saudi Arabians are given the pleasure of being called ultra conservative? Because I would just think like a really good Christian. That's what I think of when I hear ultra conservative. Right. A really good person who just doesn't watch TV or something.
Right.
Patriot Gallery is coming out to say something.
Well, that's just something they knew they're trying to do. It's just something that new, conservative, and they're saying Muslims are on the right because they want to put terrorists with Christians. It's just something they knew they're doing, but don't look at the negative. Look at the positive. Like I just put a little note. We are changing. People keep talking so bad about Islam and about Muslims. These Saudi Arabians are embarrassed. They're ashamed.
Right.
They used to be proud of themselves that they could beat women. One man's be proud he can beat a woman. Any man can beat a woman.
Right.
Unless it's Michelle and Leah, of course. They're stronger than men. They are. They've done jobs men can't do. You have.
I would
You're
say
just an
on
exception.
the inside, we're stronger than some.
Well, remember when the guy came to help us and
warriors.
he couldn't move a log that you guys could move?
He probably could have, but he didn't want to.
Whatever.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm just saying we're embarrassing Saudi Arabia. We're embarrassing. Well, actually, all the people in Europe, the Muslims, the Muslims in Europe are embarrassing all the other Muslims. But the truth of how evil the other Muslims, like what's happening in Afghanistan, raping boys, is coming to the surface.
And it's embarrassing for them.
You know, China keeps every hush-hush. And so does North Korea, because they do very bad things to people.
Yes.
But they don't let it out of the country.
You should see her faces. I know, they're all like, show us their face. So she was like, they don't let it out of the country. Like, that was so great.
So I'm going to play this another woman here from Saudi Arabia, because just what Patriot Gallery was saying, these women are getting their voices out. And people in China don't really get an opportunity to do that. And definitely not in North Korea. So.
I announced leaving Islam and Saudi Arabia after years of being a victim of oppression and injustice. A guide told me, abuse where there is no freedom, there is only pain.
There's
now
only pain.
I want to live my life freely and achieve things
I
I cannot do being a woman, I'm definitely going to prove them wrong. مرحبا، أنا اسمي رحاب. أعلن تركي للإسلام والمملكة العربية السعودية بعد سنوات من
After years of suffering persecution and oppression against women, I got convinced that Islam is a tyrannical, misogynist religion. In the place where I live, there is no freedom or humanity.
لا توجد فيه حرية ولا إنسانية.
There is only painful verbal and physical aggression.
لفظي وجسدي.
Now I want to enjoy freedom and peace.
أنا أحتاج أن أعيش بحرية وسلام. أحقق أحلامي.
To achieve my dreams and myself.
So it's so funny because I just wonder, people on the left, it's so funny that they love Islam and Muslims so much. Now, there is one man, we'll end with...
Hang on, Jack says, the average Muslim man doesn't seem to be able to fight very well, hence the gangs, I suppose. I think that it is kind of a very cowardly thing
They
to
travel
be
in gangs, they rape in gangs, which is
right.
like, real men don't want other men to see them in that position anyway, so it's like they're like a homosexual society. It's really disgusting.
So Zoe says that there were 4 dudes that attacked her in the metro, but that they were not in her 20s, but they couldn't beat her. Go get him, Zoe.
Go, girl.
You go, girl.
Wow, that's awful. I'm really sorry. That's horrible. So
now we're getting to the main story.
Yes.
For our
you have all been
attraction.
waiting for. This is the one, the only. Viktor Orban authorizes national security services to expose Soros empire, which is harming Hungarians, Europeans, and the elected government. Are you ready?
We have learned the documents leaked from the Soros empire, which reveals that the network of George Soros has a vast sphere of influence in the European Parliament and other European Union institutions, said Prime Minister Viktor Orban in an interview given to the Hungarian public radio on Friday. According to these documents, the Soros network wants to build a Europe with a mixed population and seeks cooperation with representatives who are willing to contribute to this plan. There are quite a few of these MPs in the committee. Unfortunately, there are also some Hungarians in the committee who collaborate in the process, and they have made now the European Parliament's proposal for building a Europe with a mixed population, said the Prime Minister. Viktor Orban further said that with the help of national security services, the Soros network, which is trying to influence European life, should be exposed to the public. The Prime Minister said that the Committee of the European Parliament had already laid down the principles for the EU's new immigration policy. He added, the Hungarian government's position is clear and maintains that only the given EU members should have the power to define who is allowed to stay within its borders. If Berlin or Brussels were to decide who can live in Hungary, it would mean that we are subordinated to Berlin or Brussels, which would be unacceptable.
But
this is a question of sovereignty. It's a matter of notion and principle to which we must insist, said the PM. The head of government added, there are ongoing negotiations in the background and plans are being made with which Brussels wants to put pressure on the people of Central Europe, but we openly stand for our national interests. The Prime Minister also said that the role of the Visegrad countries is evaluated by the outcome of the recent Czech and Austrian elections because, as he put it, the winners in both countries are very much like the current leaders of the Visegrad group and with whom we see eye to eye concerning migration.
So, I want to point out that when a lot of these countries went into the EU with the understanding that it was to promote economic trade and solidarity and freedom of movement, because many you guys, your countries are the size of our states,
right?
And so it would make a lot of sense. That's why we have the United States, right? But we have one language. We have one military. We have one ideals.
I mean, really,
even the American culture was birthed. It's totally different than
we're a melting pot, but still.
Yeah, it wasn't our states were actually all founded by the same types of people,
right?
And we are a melting pot. But in Europe, you have different cultures. You have different roots, and to take that and to create. The idea was that most countries came under, besides Germany and obviously in the seat in Brussels, was that everybody would remain kind of autonomous, and it would just allow for free trade and things like that.
Exactly, because Edward said the exact same thing that I was thinking. He said freedom of movement of goods, not foreigners. And the EU represents so much more than just the initial idea of let's all come together and streamline trade. I guess I really can't understand that. Why not streamline trade, whatever? But that was never the goal. That was the propaganda, but that wasn't the goal. The goal was to be able to control all of Europe at one central hub. Right. And you know whose idea it was, and we say this every single time, it really came from the Nazi Germany ideal. They failed with
executives of Bayer, Pharmaceuticals, IG Farben.
They failed. And so they were like, you know what? It's kind of the whole cut off the head, and then a even bigger monster rises up, and that's what we're seeing with the EU. That's why the head is in Brussels.
Right. So Viktor Orban calls it the Soros plan. To flood the continent with an unlimited number of third world migrants. Somebody from the Green Party, I think in Germany, was like, we're for unlimited. Greens are for unlimited migration. On Friday, the European Parliament's Committee on Civil Liberties, Justice and Home Affairs adopted a report on the amendment of the Dublin Agreement, which regulates the EU's common asylum system, which would see all member states forced to accept asylum seekers against the will of their people and for funds to be withheld from nations that refuse to comply. The musket is not only primed but loaded. In Europe, in the future, a permanent and mandatory migrant relocation quota mechanism will be established with no upper limit on numbers. A mandatory relocation quota, says Mr. Orban. It is true that we are waist deep in the struggle to protect this slice of our national sovereignty, but so far we have succeeded because until now we have been the ones who decide to live on Hungarian territory. But the attack on our sovereignty that the European Parliament has now launched is fiercer than previous. So the raft of proposals would see scrapping of the rule that the first country of safe arrival is responsible for asylum seekers who reach its borders. Asylum seekers' preference would be taken into consideration, with migrants being able to choose between 4 countries which at that time had received the fewest number of asylum seekers. So we get to choose. This is great. Faster family reunification. Applicants will have the option to register as a group of up to 30 on arrival.
Wow.
All member states must participate and share responsibility for asylum seekers, and member states refusing to accept relocation applicants would face limits on their access to EU funds. Members of the European Parliament, the MEPs from center-right EPP, Socialist S&D, Liberal ALDE, Greens EFA, and their far left voted 43 to 16 in favor. The Council of the European Union has yet to approve the amendments, and the plenary will be asked to formally confirm the decision to enter into the negotiations during the November session. Parliament-led MEP on the revision, the Cecilia Wikström from Sweden, said the new asylum system would be based on solidarity with clear rules and incentives to follow them, both from the asylum seekers and for all member states. So when you think about this, you see that, you know...
Did you read that headline, though? It says that the Soros plan, Hungarian lawmakers say that this, keep going, Soros plan is satanic. Did you read that part? I just thought it was really funny. The Breitbart tweet there. Is it a satanic assault on Europe?
Soros plan is a satanic assault on Europe,
says the Hungarian lawmaker.
That was Minister Andrzej Draski has told the country's parliament that it was a Christian duty to struggle against the satanic Soros plan and defend against assaults on faith, Europe, and the family.
Soros is the name that we can put on the globalist agenda, but there are so many more puppet masters behind that.
Oh, yes.
He just is able to kind of filter all of the money, but he does represent the plan that the globalists have, and their almost endless pocket of money that they are throwing at this
Soros
to try to
and this is what makes
accomplish
Viktor Orban so, and yes, we talk over each other because that's what we do, we're sisters. Soros's $18 billion, sorry, million would be not
million
so bad.
Would be him.
$1 billion. He's going to die soon, and so he has a legacy, and he wants this to be done. I believe What would make somebody do this? He is led by Satan. You see it in his eyes. He's like the emperor. Hang
on, though. You hit the nail on the head. He is going to die.
Yeah.
So what would be the motivation for him to do this unless it was satanic? It's not to leave some sort of legacy.
Boom, boom.
Right?
No, because if he was my dad or my grandfather or my uncle or something, leave me the money.
Stop yelling.
Leave me the money.
We have a new mic coming in there.
Leave me the money. Don't put it in your open
So,
society
as Britt always likes
foundation.
to remind us, he says that it is the Colton Hove Killargy plan in action. Edward says we need to vote and vote hard in upcoming elections and find out who needs to go and vote. The Rothschilds are liking globalists,
George
but
Soros might be dead. That's why
back
all that money
all
was
sides.
donated.
Some people think that Soros might actually already be dead, and that's where the money came from. If only, I feel like I would feel like a lift in the force if he was dead. Like, would you feel like you would feel it? Like when Rothschild died, we were all like, I felt it in the force. Darkness died. I'm just saying.
So we should have listened to Onward Christian Shoulders because I don't remember exactly how it
Onward
goes.
Christian Soldiers.
I know the first part, but there's more to it. So I feel like we can start singing it. We thought we'd end this with, since the vicar decided that you couldn't sing Onward Christian Shoulders, but we probably should have.
No, we should start it lower.
That's probably not YouTube. That's nice.
It's a little loud.
I'm turning it down. We have a piano. I wish sometime we could just turn around
Christ the royal master leads against the foe, forward into battle.
You're going good.
Go! Onward, Christian soldiers, marching on to war with the cross. No, see,
Go do
the
it.
piano is throwing me off.
I thought it was
man.
actually how bang to have something in the background to give us a beat and like.
Well, that was really fast.
I told you I should have listened to it first. It was such a good idea. I only remember like the first couple lines.
There we are in the background.
I know, isn't that funny?
Oh, it's embarrassing.
So weird.
At the name of Jesus, Satan's hope does flee.
Go, Soros. I told you. Ah!
No, can't do it.
See?
Dang it. The Christian soldiers are having a little trouble going onward today. Just play a song in the background. We never get to monetize our videos anyway.
So, but they took it down, remember?
You know what? If they take down Onward Christian Soldiers, okay, DC Talk I can understand. Find one and we will sing it with them. Come on.
Well, the last time.
What happens is we do these songs and the last time we played a song in the background, they literally froze our video and I had to go and cut out the part. They took it so that you guys couldn't even watch the video.
Yeah. See, this is I think it's going to be a bit much with the whole.
Why can't, isn't there like any person, just like regular person singing? Can't you just Google like normal chick plays guitar, sings Onward Christian Soldiers?
Michaela Jackson. You're gonna have to listen to an ad or something. This is probably not the best time we had today.
But I know this song. We could just sing the chorus again.
You sang it. You just sang it. You're gonna do good.
Onward Christian soldiers marching as to war with the cross of... Nope, I lost it. Going on before. Christ the royal master leads against the foe. Forward. No, I don't know this song very well. Why do we not know this song? It's a really good one. All right, okay. Promise for next week. We're going to practice.
These are some of the hard songs. We just turn
around
around.
for you people. Practicing is really helpful, and we will do it next time.
It's a really
I
good
promise.
idea. Some things, are better in the mind.
Yes.
Than played out.
Yeah. That happens to us a lot on Resistance.
All right, guys. So thank you for joining.
All right. So wrapping up, thank you to our moderators, Will, Maya, Gary. Trying to think if anybody else was here. If you were, I am. Oh, Six showed up at the end. Awesome. Thank you, Brian, for being here.
Oh, I have something fun to leave on. What about for the video?
What video? Okay, absolutely.
Did you ask for permission?
Yes, I did get permission. I did. Okay, so, this is so much more fun than us singing. You can pull it up. Go to the Facebook messages.
What about Battle Hymn of Republic?
Right.
That one probably not the best one for our UK day.
Now, go to the Resistance Chicks page right here. Okay. Now, so Sean and Tracy sent us the chocolate that we ate last week.
Did you share it on our page?
No, just go to the messages.
Okay.
Inbox, right there. There it is.
Okay.
All right, and then they did a video for us that was so much fun. They have become good friends of ours
Where is it?
just from messages. I don't know.
It's right here. No, but like, where is it?
Tracy's is at the bottom. No, it's from Tracy.
Okay.
Go up. There it is. All right, click on it. Here it comes. Now, don't press play right away. I want to give an introduction. All right, I'm going to spoil the punchline because it's stop the pause it. Pause the thing. Do you know how to press pause?
Yeah.
We just had an argument right there, live on TV. I'm going to spoil the punchline because it's funnier to know. We were watching this, and they come on with their posh accents because we did a posh accent last week when we read Tracy's letter and Sean's note. And so they come out saying, yes, this is our posh. And Lee and I are sitting there watching, and we're like, that's not. But they do the posh accent way better than we do, even. So we absolutely love them. This is so much fun. Sean is a milkman, all right? And Tracy needs your prayers because she has been holed up in her house. She's got knee issues going on and a slew of other things. So pray for her. But she went out and got out anyway just to do this video for us. So we feel very, very special.
Adorable.
I don't know if we can pause it throughout. Okay. Here we go. This is so great.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
You're right, we do speak very posh.
Hello, Resistance Chicks. This is a little video that we've been meaning to send you for a little while. We are Sean. I'm Sean. This is Tracy.
And I'm Tracy.
And you are absolutely correct. We do talk like this all the time. Where are we going for tiffin this afternoon, my dear?
I think we might go to the village church.
Let's go to the village church, yes. And on the way down there, we're going to show you some of the houses. Please excuse my car. The butler hasn't sorted it out yet. There's a bit of a squeak in the old fan belt. We're going to show you some of the houses that are near to our street.
That's a really good posh.
So now I need to confess that we don't talk like that all the time.
No, we don't. Forget that.
So this is...
Hurts your throat talking like that, doesn't it?
So this is the little lane that we live down.
It's adorable.
And as you can see, there's some beautiful houses.
It's also bin day.
It means trash day. It's trash day. I had to learn that from Horatio.
Now, American houses are a lot bigger than British houses. These are quite well-to-do houses. People that have got a bit of money live in these houses. You get a much more for your money in America.
We were talking about that the other day. You get big houses in America for the amount of money.
Bring that because I'm holding it. We haven't got anything to hand to mount it so it's hands-free, but unfortunately it's bouncing away.
No, because then we feel like we're in the car with you.
It's
like a ride.
Free Wi-Fi around. So yeah, these houses, as you can see, are really, really beautiful and very, very old English. So we're going to park up here for just a moment and we're going to get out and we will visit our church.
We also are having a very warm autumn. Are you having the same over there in the States? I know that you were very warm in September. You got to like 90 degrees, didn't you? Like someone doesn't see when Leah was cutting the grass, I think she
It was you were in shorts and stuff.
So this is our village green, and as you can see, there are some really beautiful timber frame houses there. And there's Sean, and behind him is another really beautiful house.
I like your shirt, by the way, Sean.
The old bakehouse. It used to be the bakehouse, and that house over there, up until 1970, was the pub. So slightly before our time, because that's the year that Tracy and I was born.
Slightly before.
Now, the other day, Michelle, you said you tried to say our village name, which is up there.
No, but I really did fail.
You're almost correct.
No, I wasn't.
Saint Hippolyte.
Saint
It's a
Hippolyte.
funny village in the fact that you can spell it like so many different ways.
It's weird.
There's 3 entrances into the village, and each sign has got a different spelling on each one. So they are a bit different.
That's strange.
Let's go to the church.
So awesome.
It's beautiful.
It is really, really
And
beautiful.
that's the school just there.
Here is a private park. Now, we're not allowed in there. Somebody in the village owns this and owns quite a bit of land around the village as well. There is a footpath that you can walk through, but Tracy did walk through here once on her way to work. She used to work in the village shop just down the road there a few years ago. And she took
Excellent
a picture one
camerawoman.
morning, and it's absolutely stunning. And once we dig it out, we'll send it to you because it is a lovely.
We look forward to it.
Behind me is the church, the village church. It is gorgeous. I don't know how old it is. I mean, you could probably say somewhere around here.
Distinct armed Christian
Still far
soldiers
in it.
there.
I've only ever been in it once, and that was when they blessed the horses every August, and my daughter was here. You saw my daughter once in one of our little.
He
little
has his
films
own
on
channel. You can
YouTube.
click on it. Am I
As you
allowed
probably
to say
noticed,
that?
I haven't
Johnny
really
Show?
utilised my YouTube channel yet because I haven't really worked out what to do with it. It's just a few funny videos, but I will do in time. I promise I will do. We want to do more of these anyway because we love connecting with you girls.
And we love connecting with you.
This church at night looks absolutely gorgeous. There is some little spotlights around it that shine up at the church. And when you drive past sometimes, there's rabbits here, and when they run in front of the spotlights, it casts these great big shadows like something out of a monster film, you know. It's quite scary sometimes when you drive round.
I have to put up with that all day, every day.
Church by night.
We've hit the church in the evening. We're just driving past, and they're practicing the bell ringing for Sunday. So we thought we'd stop by and let you see. And if I
love
stand
the bell.
across there, you
It's
can
so
see that
beautiful.
little light that Sean was saying about the rabbits running in front of, casting big monster shadows on the church walls.
That's the end of us for today.
Now this is the worst part.
This little video to say hi, and this is us. Put some names to the faces, faces to the names, that sort of thing. And now we're going to enjoy our fish and chips.
That is cruelty to an American.
We don't eat fish and chips every day, by the way.
It's a one-off.
Most Wednesdays, though.
But it's Wednesday, so.
That's
all right.
beautiful.
That's mean. When I saw the fish and chips, and then I was telling my mom about it because I had watched this like 4 or 5 times, and like I watched it by myself, or no, I watched it with Leah, and then I watched it by myself, and then watched it with Kansas, and then watched it with Mom. And when my mom was sitting there, and she loves fish and chips, and she was just like jaw dropped, like, "Are you serious?"
No
and I was
fair.
thinking, like, dude, that is unfair. I cannot believe you did that. But Tracy did send me a little bit more of a back story on that church. She says, from memory, the church was built in the 11th century, commissioned by the niece of William the Conqueror. It's one of only 2 churches, in the UK dedicated to Saint Hippolytus. Hippolytus. Thank you.
Hippolytus.
Thank you. The church, they say church, has an unusually high door and wide aisle. This is because sick horses were brought there to be blessed during the Middle Ages. Also, I was told knights would ride their horses into church to be blessed before going on the Crusades. It is open all the time. So I will venture out and give you a little look around. So hopefully Leah can get that before it goes to the answering machine. Maybe.
Mom
got it. Okay. Well done, Mum. So thank you, Sean and Tracy, for doing that video for us. I hope, Sean, you promised you were still going to be here. I'm hoping you're still there. Tracy had said that she was going to leave and not watch herself, but she's absolutely beautiful. Sean, handsome chap, beautiful couple. Cecilian gal had said. Very
I love
accurate,
those red
very
glasses.
fun.
It's beautiful. It was so fun. I laughed. We laughed the whole time.
We
This
did
is
laugh
a
the
cute
whole
little
time.
video. You guys are so cute. I love it. I just love it.
All right, so Shawnee says, yes, nearly every Wednesday night after weigh-in at Slimming World. Then they go and get the fish and chips. That reminds me of when we used to go to the gym when we were younger with our mom and our best friend, or it was my mom's best friend. She was really old. They were really old at the time. I think they were in their 30s. Yeah. And we would always go to Frisch's, which is our local diner, after going to the gym in the evening. I think I was like 14 or something like that at the time. So thank you for bringing a little bit of Resistance Chicks family to the big screen. I love it when we get to do that and bring them to you guys. So what I'm going to do, and I hope this is okay with Tracy and Sean, is drop the link to that video in the description so you can just go and watch it yourself, because I know that it's a little bit blurry since we have the new system. The TV's not as clear as it used to be because the camera focuses so in on Leah and I. So you guys can go and watch it again and practice your little British accents since they do the posh. I picked up a little bit on their posh that's better. They say church. His emphasis on the butler.
We tried a little bit.
Work on it a little
to
bit.
kind of not lengthen our words so much. Kind of just keep it down, not kind of Jacob Rees-Moggs it.
Yeah, well, but Jacob Rees-Mogg is like the easier way to do it.
It is much easier.
Because everything that when you do it just like the Sean and Tracy way, there are things that are cut off. You cut off words.
Yes.
Short. That's Leah's alarm.
Another alarm.
All right, so again, thank you to the moderators. Thank you, Sean and Tracy, for putting that video together that we got to share with our viewers. That was really fun to end on. As always, we go live every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sundays, except for today when the UK fell back. We're still at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes.
But you guys fell back. Next week, we'll be back at your regular time, which is 6 p.m. Today it was 5. But we figured there's people from all over the world.
So we have a P.O. Box 107?
Yes.
107.
Milford, Ohio, 45150.
Find us on Facebook.
Follow us on Twitter. We love you. God loves you. God bless. And don't
remember,
forget.
it's not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth.
All right, you guys. Have a wonderful, blessed rest of your Sunday. In the UK, I know it's getting dark way early for you guys. Horatio told me today that in the winter, it starts getting dark at, like, it's only light from like 8:30 in the morning till 3:30 in the afternoon. That is depressing. So you know what you need? Resistance chicks to keep you happy. All right, you guys. God bless. Thanks for being here as always. And if you left a comment that was pertinent, please leave it again.
In the comments on the video at the end.
Exactly. Cheerio.
Righto. Chop. Thank you for coming in.
And then the clock goes.
And the clock.
I was cold all alone. Nobody home every day. So afraid. But you called my name. Turned my eyes to the lies.